welcome to Solve. This is a SaaSOps Live virtual event. This is actually episode 27, the last one for 2021, which is crazy to think that 2021 has gone by so quickly. But in the last 12 months, an awful lot has happened. It has been a very busy year for a lot of us with migrations, upgrades, new features in SaaS and SaaSOps to be reviewed, enabled and deployed. And at the end of the year, this has been a very, very busy time for a lot of us in the last week. And I would like to theoretically, virtually throw another Log4j onto the fire, because obviously a lot of us are probably dealing with Log4j. I was really hoping that Brian would have been here. I know he would have enjoyed that joke, and I had been practicing it especially for him. I'll allow him to use that later on. But yes, Log4j has, for some of my colleagues, has been a real this isn't really a problem because we're 100% SaaS, and our SaaS providers have easily patched their software. For others, it's probably not going to be I'm sure for others with a lot of physical on-premise applications that they own themselves, it's not going to be a very nice holiday. And I'm sure a lot of IT professionals would hope that they were going to be escaping this vacation season and going off somewhere where there is no internet connection, because I do know, unfortunately, a few people that are going to have to be working over this Christmas period. But we're here on a Friday before Christmas to imagine that we're about to go to the local mall, sit down on Santa's lap, wait patiently for the elves to direct us forwards. We're going to sit on Santa's lap and we're going to tell him what would we like in a perfect world. What SaaS or SaaSOps or IT item would we want Santa to bring us? What is missing? What would we want glistening under the tree in silver wrapping paper?
Magical spend reporting
Magical.
on, wait, I'm going to throw a caveat in it too, on bills and invoices if you're working at like an MSP or a reseller or something.
You explain that again.
Okay. How much money am I spending on SaaS, which is a problem we all have, and how much money am I charging for said SaaS? And because those aren't always in if you're at an MSP, and yeah, Dominic's freaking out.
Right. Okay.
And then maybe even the third one, what am I charging? What am I spending? And what am I doing in reality? What's real? Right? Like, who has a user that I'm not paying a lot? Let's make all those the same.
Yeah. Right. So better, all around better admin, auditing, usage reports, aggravated usage reports across all SaaS usage and applications.
Yeah, because it's so bad right now. Like, you literally have to natural language process receipts in order to get some of these answers, because there's no API call for some of these. Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, and I guess that specifically is a frustration for, as you say, MSPs, managed service providers, those companies that you hire out to provide you with IT services. But even, I guess, large corporations that
if
would
you're
have
centralizing billing and you're billing orgs or whatever, yeah.
That would be wonderful. How easy do you think it would be for the little elves to chisel that out of a lump of pine?
I mean, I feel like Julia's job would be a lot easier if it was cake.
Yeah, mine was my wish list is just more time. Unlimited time would be really nice. Then we'll just do it all with the magic wand.
Right.
That's what I want. Yeah, Santa to just magically make it happen.
just give the elves full admin access. Problem solved.
That brings up my wish list, which is that I would want I want better cloud, but at the moment I would also appreciate a and I don't think this is anything anybody else can provide to me, but like a risk acceptance policy, a useful risk acceptance policy.
Risk assessment policy. Did you say acceptance policy?
Acceptance, yeah.
For,
because if you need to give the elves full admin access for something because they need it to get the thing done, but there's somebody in security telling you that the elves can have full admin access. It's not allowed. What if the elves misuse their admin access? And I'm like, I don't care. What the elves are doing to me is more valuable than if they misuse it.
yes, there's that. There's long been that battle between trust, the security, the CISO, and productivity. So what would that look like? Would it be like them requesting that privileges were elevated for them to do a certain task? They had to click a button. They had to read the acceptable policy, or scroll down and not read it, put the tick in to say they had read it, click submit. They get admin for an hour, 4 hours a day, however long they needed.
Or Google makes their APIs more granular.
Oh, that was my one. That was my one. Yeah, can we have just like
Google to
people
all?
don't need to be a super admin to do basic functions, please? Like that would be nice.
And let's sub Google for just all SaaS.
All SaaS. Just make it so you don't have to be like the top level administrator in order to use certain API endpoints.
I know there's been times in our organization where I felt like almost like a Microsoft fanboy, like the ability to like segment out permissions to a semi-granular fashion and assign people in different departments, different roles with different levels of ability based on their expertise.
But like really specific, because like Google has that.
Yeah.
But like it's not ultra specific, and there's still so many gaps where like super admin becomes a catch-all for everything that's not covered under the specific items that are listed.
And then if you want to integrate anything with it, they're like, oh, our service needs super admin access.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
or
that's
when
really
you
scary.
want to assign out room management or calendar management to someone else, then you need to, then you either need to buy a new a meat hardware license that you might not use, or have super admin on there. Right?
I can't think of a use case for Google, but I'm dealing with this with Salesforce, where I actually have to give a security vendor a username and like a full, like not even an API key. Like he has to have a username and password to an admin account in order to make the API calls he needs to get stuff back. Not even the API, again, username and password. Yeah. It's like, this feels so wrong on so many levels. Just
what I would also love is when you're integrating apps between two SaaS services, if you could manually scope your own permissions. Like there's features I would kill. I would just kill them because I don't want that scope in there. And I'm okay with that, but I want the rest of the features.
Yeah, it is like you can either give them too much or too little, and it's working out what you give them. In Google's defense, I will say I do like the fact that they you can have multiple permissions assigned to your account, and then you get the sum of all of those permissions. There are some other applications that still need to do that, and hopefully have better delegated permissions on their roadmap. But yeah, having it granular would be great, but would that just become too complicated because you could have 200 tick boxes and never know what you're actually setting?
I mean, it is a trade-off, right? You have to recognize that Google is complicated enough to need it, right? Well, and I think part of the problem is this sort of like catch-all bucket that they've created, right? There's no option for that catch-all bucket. Like if they created something to deal with all of the ones that aren't covered by these other permissions, then that would help.
Yeah.
Right?
If there was a super admin, but without the ability to delete the tenant.
Right.
So you can do everything, you just can't destroy it.
Right.
You know,
or
but
like,
even,
you could manage domain settings, but you don't handle users, right? Like,
yeah.
Like you can manage the configuration, but not the data. Like that would be nice, but no, instead we have super admin. That's it.
Microsoft
now let's get granular. How about assigning those permissions to your or to your license partner? Because we have either everything that we can do or nothing, which is
that's true.
fun.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I would prefer the reseller access was less restricted or would appear in the transparency logs. Just like if Google come in and they do something, I want to see if a reseller comes in and does something, certainly because
it shows up in logs, but
does
not
it?
in the transparency logs. Yeah, it's just in your normal logs as a normal admin with our work structure and with our like username. That shows up, but we have all access or none of the access. Like
right.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it only shows up. But it only shows up if you take actions, right? Not just if you're browsing the admin console.
Yeah, if you view, it doesn't show up, no, but actions show up. So you can set alerts for, and we trigger alerts for user creation, super admin creation, etc. So we do trigger those alerts, and we tell our customers to set up those alerts because those are not by default turned on.
Right. Yeah.
Because and with email delivery, because you want to know when we create a super admin.
It's interesting to me that those alerts aren't turned on by default, but like a spike in user reported spam is turned on by default. Like the super admin one seems way more important.
Which for all the small tenants it triggers an alert every time someone presses this button, the spam button.
Yeah. I do know that in Microsoft, obviously, they're very granular with their permissions, but there are still some things where you need to be a domain admin to run certainly some reports.
Well, not only that, like how you change those permissions is garbage. Like, oh wait, I have to run a PowerShell thing just to hit this one weird thing to do this. Wait, what? Right? And it's like swings so far in the other direction from Google. It's like, oh, you want granular? Sure, dog. We're gonna make everything granular. Like, okay, whoa.
Yeah. So, all right. So it seems like a large part of the Christmas tree is filled with granular permissions and a better way to assign permissions on APIs and get an API key. Any other wish list items?
I have one because it's still a challenge and it's really, really doing me head in. Can we just have API access by default as part of a product? Like when you subscribe to a service that they don't say, here's another 15% for you to access the API.
All right. Yeah,
that would be nice.
Rose has beaten them down on the SSO tax, so they've got to get their money some way. But yes, Zoom, I had to upgrade to get access to be able to do some actions within Better Cloud, be on the right plan. Slack is another one. Yes, you can do some things, I think, with standard, but you've got to be on that pro for more access.
And enterprise for even more shit.
Yeah. Is there a cost? What is there?
$50 enterprise plan for Stripe.
Right, but does the
Slack one.
Right, but to have an API, apart from the development and the management, does it cost anything to run it, to have it?
If your customers exceed hundreds of limits, of course there is server cost associated with that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so there
low.
is
Just put rate limits in. Have tiered rate limits.
Just saying. Just saying, there is still a cost. But
so there is a genuine reason for companies to charge for an API access if it is costing them to run it.
Well, there's likely an API team and you need solutions architects who can support it. And there's a lot of employment that goes in around it. I think from a technology standpoint, it would just be like a load concern. But overall, I don't know. Let's just say it's not going to be as much as I think, it's a profitable business to get into, but there is still some costs associated.
But there's cost to every piece of development, right? Every feature that you improve on or even keep running, there's cost to it. And it is accessible. You just got to pay for it. So they've already got a team that's doing it. They've got a team that's supporting it. They've got a team that's updating it. And it's an access gate. And it feels strange for the SaaS product to have an API access tier.
This relates, I feel like, to there's like in the SaaS market, there's an issue where things are gated behind enterprise because enterprise companies ask for them, even though the thing itself actually would benefit more people who can't pay for it. So like, that's one of the things behind the SSO tax, right? Is that the people who would benefit most from it are the people who don't have security teams, who don't have like, these big build outs to be able to like manage stuff, or like can't pay for Okta or whatever, but like for some reason it's like put up behind these like higher licensing
Well, you can
schemes.
tell too, like some of the more, I don't want to say archaic, but like software that was built in the before times or whatever you want to call it, that didn't have SSO out of the gate and didn't have every single function they were building attached to an API, have to then go back in and if not rebuild the entire platform, rebuild entire sections or subsections.
Well, they should rebuild their entire platform.
And they should rebuild that. So who's going to pay for that? So then the cost gets associated back to, let's hide it behind enterprise.
Well, they should pay for it. It's their company. Keep up with the times.
I'm not, arguing. No, I'm not going to argue with you there, right? But the fact is, like, somebody has to pay for that, right? And in capitalism, like, it's going to get past the consumer, bro, or whatever. But like, you can tell the companies that like started in this world of like, we're going to build SaaS out of the box. We're going to build API calls for all of our shit out of the box. We'll build reporting out because those are table stakes at this point when those apps started getting built, when they weren't 5-10 years ago when these other apps were built, right? Or whatever.
So I once had a SaaS vendor, the backup vendor for Google, a European one, reach out to me. I should resell their product. And I'm like, sure. First things, I'm doing an assessment, I'm trying new stuff out. And then they come, and then I noticed SSO is not possible, like not even Google login. I'm like, what? How does this work now? And I'm like, is SAML log being possible? And then they came back to me, well, SAML is on the way out and we don't think we need to support it. I'm like, yeah, don't ever contact me again. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. And no, your Swiss storage does not appeal to me. I don't care.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing I keep coming back to about the API access, right? Is if you buy a SaaS product, there's going to be components of that typically that just don't fit your business, right? Whatever your service is that you're providing, you're just like, I'm not going to use that module, but you're still going to pay for it anyway because it's a SaaS product and that's what it is, right? It comes with all the stuff, whether you need it or not. And API access seems to be treated so differently, like SSO, right?
Yeah.
We're going to support this anyway, but you're going to pay for it. Yeah, but you're also supporting that module that I'm not using, and I'm paying for that, right? Yeah, but other people are using that module. Yeah, but I'm paying for it. So can I get a discount for that and trade it for the API? No, you can't. So can we have it one way or the other, right? Like, give me a product where I can choose everything a la carte.
It makes
give me all the things that your product
it's like everything's a la carte.
Well, the problem with a la carte pricing is that the prices tend to be higher because like when you're pricing them out, you round up.
Yeah, it's like cable
so
TV.
That is the problem with the a la carte model. Is like, it's great because you can only buy the stuff that you need. But then as you tack on each one of these services, the price often ends up being higher than it would be if they bundled them all together.
I'm not advocating for a la carte. I'm just saying, right? Like they want both, right? They want to say, here's what the product is, whether you're using it or not. But also this other thing, we're not going to include it. You don't have to pay extra if you want it.
Right. Terence, with your, obviously in SaaS, there's normally like 4 tiers. There's the free tier, the standard, which is like $5, the pro, which is 10, and enterprise, which is 15, 25. Let's say
or
if
50,
all of, pardon?
I said or 50,
Or 50, yeah. But they're sort of like standard ballpark figures. If API was available on all of them, would you be happy if Santa could say, okay, you can have a full API access on your standard, but you can only do 2,000 calls a day, and on the pro you can do 10,000, and on the enterprise you can do 100,000 calls or something?
Yeah, 110% would be okay with that, because that would scale with enterprise. It would scale with the size of your organization and what you needed from it, right? If you got like 150 employees and you're on a lower rate than an organization that's got 10,000 employees, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
I think everything should be usage based. Like the way I pay for GCP or AWS or any of these other things is based on usage. And like, let's single out Better Cloud. Why not? Like, I should be paying Better Cloud based on my usage. If I'm a massive company using all these calls and doing all this shit, like, yeah, you're using a ton of resources. Frickin' pay for those. If I'm not using all those resources, then I shouldn't be paying for those.
So that's what I would like Santa to give me. I would like fair use billing on everything. It's the only thing I like about Slack.
Yeah.
I'm very vocal. Slack is just IRC with animated GIFs. But I do like its fair use billing. And I've advocated to a lot of the SaaS companies that I buy a product from, I would, give everybody a license if it was fair use. But I'm not going to give everybody a license because they're only going to use it, once or twice a year. But I'll pay for the times that they do use it. And obviously SaaS vendors don't really like that because, you get these peaks and troughs and swings and, in their revenue, and then you have credits coming back. But Slack do it incredibly well. And obviously were a $6 billion company and got bought by Salesforce, I think.
Yeah, Salesforce.
Can't we just have GCP billing everywhere?
Any Slack person who watches this is going to be aghast at what you just said, Colin.
What? Are they going to be surprised that Slack is
with
IRC with animated GIFs?
It's true, though.
It is.
So true.
Hello.
I think it starts that way, but like there's so much stuff that you can do with Slack that is not possible in Google Chat, by the way.
I know. I know.
I'm like vehemently.
Chat is not much more than that.
People are like, I hate Slack, and I'm like, okay, but it's not like we're not going to Google.
I was talking to an aunt of mine who used to be in technology a long time ago, and we were talking about SaaS, and she was like, "It's just thin clients. SaaS is just thin client stuff. It's going in cycles. It goes." It's just where the processing happens. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting perspective,
Yeah, the network is the computer, which I think was Oracle or Novell's advertising campaign in the 1990s. I remember being on the tube in London in the underground, and there would be the network is the computer adverts. I can't remember who coined that phrase, which company it was. I think it was Novell, wasn't it? Netware from Novell.
Well, now we're building internal applications to do stuff, but building them in the cloud, right? So it's like it's come full circle where, okay, we're going back to having internal dev teams, but instead of building it on-prem, they're actually using SaaS to build it in the cloud. It's like, oh, this is like a combination of both the things that it was before.
Let's just go back to mainframes then. Works too.
No, not dealing with infrastructure is the best.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't had to make an Ethernet cable in years. It's been fantastic.
Okay, I have two wishes. I want to start with one, which is my biggest issue that I've been dealing with this week. One-click vendor assessments, please. Thank you very much.
Ooh. Vendor, you mean like one-click security?
Anything? Yeah. Vendor security vetting, whatever else you need from me, whatever. One click. Thanks very much. I have filled too many. I have argued with too many people that Chromebooks do not need separate admin, that do not have separate admin accounts, and that
yeah,
that I don't
there's
have
no
a
value
network.
in that. Yeah.
That I don't have a fucking network. So I
was going to say security questionnaires
have
have not evolved very much. I just mark not applicable on a lot of that stuff.
That there must be a company out there that must be doing it.
So we kind of started to use Risk Ledger, which is kind of having that ledger capability in there. So it actually kind of analyzes the entire software supply chain, but obviously everyone would need to be on Risk Ledger to make this happen. And I kind of want that a little bit more widespread. I don't care which platform. I don't care if it's, I don't know, distributed somehow. I just want one click, and I want you to be easily trusting. And that's just, even if I send you an ISO certificate, you still want me to fill your stupid form in Excel 2000, and
it's because nobody wants to fill out the form. I think, like, I hate it when vendors send like their security white papers back to me when I'm like, can you fill out this form? And they're like, this is everything you need to know. Thanks, Google. But on the other hand, I know on their side, they're sending like every single one of my customers is sending me one of these questionnaires. So like, do away with the questionnaires, I think is the solution.
I would love Blair's on this after all of your time and experiences in this world.
Yeah, I've been on both sides of that fence, both requesting them and filling those things out. And the whole process sucks. Like, it is just the worst. I think it's a great use case for data, natural language processing and whatnot. I also think it's another great use case for like more standardization, kind of like API level standardization across the board. But that's a pipe dream. Like, that's never going to happen. So I think it's going to have to get solved with another piece of software to come in. And I mean, speaking from experience, like,
well, and risk management software is like an innovative space right now. So like, I know we're switching to one that like can do automation and natural language processing and that kind of thing.
And it gets it closer. It makes it better, but it
there's still work involved.
Yeah, exactly.
I know last year we spoke about standards, you know, and it being easier to evaluate and pick and choose a vendor with there being, you know, an international standards of this is what you've got to have. And I think finding people's security information should be a lot simpler than it is. I shouldn't have to scroll all the way to the bottom of your infinite scroll homepage to try and get to the bit at the very, very bottom that says contact us, security, and all of the copyright stuff. You should just be able to go to any vendor, put in their domain name /security, just like you can, for most people, you could do /careers, and you'd be able to find all of their public security information so you can make that assessment.
Can we add /pricing to that list too?
David, Blair, contact us for the quotes.
Contact
us for the quotes.
So triggered.
Every time I see a new tool, the first page every time, before I even go to the homepage, it's literally vendorname.com/pricing. That's literally the very first
thing is I sympathize with vendors who like really do custom build outs for customers, and I sympathize with them. I wish maybe they would just like give me an average based on the size of my company, right? And that just means like you have to have enough data powering your company in order to provide that. But like, yeah, so like I understand custom pricing. It's just like, I just want a ballpark. I just want to see if like we're in the same sphere of existence.
Is it even worth me having an initial conversation with you, or am I going to get laughed out of the room?
I don't want to see 6 demos before I find out how much this thing is going to cost me. I don't want to be. I hate being sold on a product and then I can't buy it.
Even give me a minimum. Give me a minimum, right? Our license minimum cost for us to break even, for us to get 0 from a customer, this is the minimum you're going to pay. So obviously it's not going to be that, right? But
Yeah,
at least that's a starting point. If your minimum is higher than my maximum, we're already done.
Yeah, it's like the same with am I applying for this job or not? Like if I want $120,000 every year and they are only offering 70, then I'm not gonna apply because that's a waste of time. Like your time, my time,
invalidate
everyone's
myself from the sales cycle. You don't need to invalidate me. I can do that all on my own. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm picturing Terrence's idea where you do you put it on a card and then you're like, all right, on 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh no.
That would be a fun game. Just play with your vendors.
You can at least get a laugh out of it in the end.
Yeah, just like Tinder for vendors, right? It just gives you the price and you swipe left or right, and at the end it says, these are the vendors that you matched with.
SaaS, Tinder, oh no.
I do love the vendors that have a little sliding scale, and you can slide up and you put a number of users you've got, all the services, and you can get a really good picture. There are a few of them out there, and great for them, but they are normal, standard fixed costs as opposed to the custom integrations that you can't. And often it comes down to
we have a vendor who's like building like a whole. They're like redoing how their integration, like their service integrates with one of our services, and like they're going to charge us money for that, and it's fine because we're going to pay it, but like not every customer needs that kind of thing. Some customers are just perfectly fine, willing to accept it as the way it is. So it makes sense to me, but yeah. SaaS Tinder, that's next. Up next on Solve.
Tinder and SaaSOps.
I did really want to do a SaaS Jeopardy, but I've never got around to creating the questions.
You can do speed dating.
SaaS speed dating, what with vendors?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just got a whole bunch of vendors.
Yeah.
We're like the bachelors and the bachelorettes.
Yeah. That would work. It's almost like walking through any conference anyway. It's almost like playing British Bulldog with the salespeople. You've got to dodge them, get past them.
British Bulldog. How many people know British Bulldog? Is that a thing that made it?
I have to look it up on Wikipedia. It's a game we used to play in the Scouts, and it's surprising that none of us died from repeated concussions from hitting the concrete floor. Yeah, it's a tough life over there as a child in the 70s and the early 80s. So, Brian, being the closest to Santa up there in Canada, what's on your wish list?
Oh, I'm not so central anymore. I'm actually in Vancouver for next couple of months, but yeah, I just wish vendors would deliver on the promises that were made, or deliver on the roadmap items. Yeah.
Slow down.
Santa's great, but it's not a miracle worker.
Yeah.
This is Santa, not some divine, all-powerful being we're talking about. Like, come on, let's keep this realistic, please.
Or at least give timely updates. At least timely or be more transparent in terms of where they are in terms of their development cycle, so we know, rather than saying, hey, this feature is coming summer of 2019, for example, and 2 years later, here we are, still trying to gain an understanding. Is it still being worked on? Is it abandoned, or what's going on here?
You
not naming any names. I'm going to cover the logo right here. Not naming any names.
Mean,
it's on the roadmap, Brian. It's on the roadmap.
HR software. You mean HR software?
Yeah. I'll put on the better closure.
Yeah.
Talk about problems I've been on both sides on. Man, roadmaps suck for everyone.
Yeah. Also, how long is your roadmap? How long is this bloody road? It's like,
it goes forever.
Are we on like are we going on a trip to the grocery store, or are we on like a cross-country road trip? How long is
Julia,
the
you'll love this one. When are we getting rid of GDOT?
Oh.
Never.
I think I heard Santa in the other room. I think I gotta go.
Am I the only one who like loves GDOT? Am I like the only one left?
It is GDOT Better Cloud is still a wonderful service, does everything you need. But yeah, one thing I've noticed with roadmaps, it used to say, something would be released, Q1, Q2. Now it's near term, long term, and directional. It's my directional aspiration or salad. It's never going to happen.
What does directional mean?
I think it just means like how vague can we get away with? Like
we want to do this, but we really aren't sure.
Directional means the goal is somewhere in the east, and we're also working somehow kind of towards east. It might be northeast, but it's still somewhat east.
It can also be circular, right? You just
On the flip side, though, I mean, think about the industries where they set a roadmap and then stick to it. So the biggest one I'm thinking of right now is gaming, right? And they push back release dates, but then it comes out, and then come to find out, oh yeah, you know what this required? Fucking crunch. They're all dead now. Everyone that worked here is dead. Their families are all dead. Everyone's died, right? And it's like horrible.
Plus, there's like 50 million bugs that they could have caught if they had just given themselves.
So it's like, which one do you? And then half the time they crunched, and it's still unworkable, and it's still unusable, and they needed more time and everything else. So it's like, which one do we want? Do we want inaccurate or vague roadmaps?
Don't announce stuff early.
But that's the thing.
Don't do it.
Having been again part of both sides of that conversation, like sometimes you go in going, "Oh, this will be a slam dunk. We've done this before. It'll be easy. We're coming out with this in a quarter, y'all. Cake." And then you go in and you're like, "Oh no, all right, cool, right?" It's like,
okay, that's how I felt about Google to Google migrations. So,
does anyone have any experience with a dev team actually finishing on their estimate? Like, is that a thing in the real world?
Yeah.
Like, we thought this would take 6 weeks. And guess what? It took 5 weeks.
Usually for small stuff.
That's how good we are.
Usually for small stuff. If you scope it correctly. Scoping is a human fallacy. Right. It is so difficult to scope things because we're just humans.
No, but it's on the sprint. Just complete the sprint and it'll be done. Like, obviously.
You hit two things for me here. You spoke about finishing on time, and you spoke about 6 weeks, and this throws me back too early this year. I'm like, no, not again.
Everybody loves the whooshing sound the deadline makes as it goes flying past. It is, yeah. I guess it depends on the size of the organization. I've been working with a very small SaaS company, and their speed of development is ridiculous. You like mentioned something in a call one week, and then
it's in beta the next week.
They're like, oh yeah, we've that casual thing that you mentioned on the call, our developers have put it in. Have a look and let us know.
Yeah, like, I had a vendor like that. Yeah, where they would like mention something in an EDR, and 2 days later, like the beta would be open. And then like less than a month later, it would be in prod. Like, it was amazing. But well, and not everything can run on that cycle either.
But do they have 10 developers for Google Chat? Sorry, I didn't want to mention names.
Yeah, it's a like double-edged sword. If you want something on like really high on the magic quadrant, you're gonna pay for it in speed, right? That is a big ship, right? Whereas, somebody that no one's freaking heard of, that the
just throw out the
person I'm
magic
talking
quadrant.
to is the guy that invented it.
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
It's garbage anyway.
Yeah.
Get rid of your quadrant.
So I have another wish list, please. I want to know your CO2 emissions and your CO2 equivalent emissions.
Century's going green for 2022. Yeah, it should be with all of the large corporations making statements about what they want to be. Our parent company that I work for, they have made statements about when they want to be neutral. It should be easy to find it. We shouldn't have to go digging for it.
And how they treat their people. Like, I want to know you're not going to crunch your employees. Like, I want to know you're paying them well. I want to know that I'm supporting ethical people on the back end.
I'm talking always about sustainability in all 4 pillars. Like, we're talking about sustainability in making the world greener, obviously, but we're also talking about the people that work for you that make this shit happen. We're all talking about your economic stability, because your company, if it goes bust tomorrow, I'm not better off today. And just your social life around the company that you affect too needs to be very much on the highest level. And that's what I want to know, and actually show me numbers and don't just show stories.
Yeah,
show stories because they sell, but show me numbers too.
That's a lot of information to try and have available when picking a vendor. Certainly when we were talking earlier about how difficult it is to find, their security standing and viewpoint and policies, etc. To find everything else, there needs to be.
It's actually not that difficult if you run everything you do with like a data mindset. That like you're going to collect the data that you need in order to generate those numbers. But I think that's part of the problem, is that there's so many companies that only generate data on some things and not everything. Like just like, like pay standards and like ethical, like other ethical things, like you could publish data on that. Most companies just don't have that data because they haven't bothered to collect it or aggregate it.
Or download it from their HR system.
Yeah, or their HR system.
Put it in a nice spreadsheet and upload it.
Or their HR system is ADP and it connects to nothing.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So that's what I want, like sustainable vendors in all four scopes, like in all four pillars of sustainability.
Which requires, keeping track of the data with all the data points you need in order to make those.
Oh, and make those available via API. Thanks very much.
And then then put them in the API.
so that I can then aggregate your data into my data and publish more accurate reports. I mean, I get now a green sustainability report for my GCP servers on all my billing accounts, so I can tell you how much CO2 my customers emit on their GCP spend. So I have that via API available and can put that in every cloud. So that's pretty cool. Make it happen. Use that data in your product that you definitely use. Not talking about anyone that is using GCP in here. Use that data and generate a report out of that at least, and you have at least the SaaS part of that taken care of. Still doesn't include your data on your employees, but at least your SaaS is reported upon.
All right, we've got a selection of. We've got a dog. I think our first dog on Solve. We've obviously had a number of cats. Yum had to leave. My cat Charlie ran away. Thankfully, it's been very, very vocal today. We've got about 10 minutes left. I've loved all of the things that we've discussed: APIs, fair use billing, delegated permissions, security audits, CO2, etc. information, sustainability information. Before Steve validates our parking and we all drive out of the multi-story car park, I can't not do the car park joke because I like it. Every time I see it, it looks like a car park in my town. Is he trying to unmute? What do you want for Christmas, Steve?
Loft style is really in.
I know.
Just
what does Steve want for Christmas?
Me,
SaaS wise. SaaS.
SaaS wise.
Yeah. You can be real.
Drone. I lost my drone. I took it out the other day, and the wind took it away. It's too windy here in Chicago, so I would love to get a replacement drone.
Yeah. When I know, come on the 26th, when I go for a walk around the park near me, it's a very large park. I will find loads of drones. I did last year.
Really?
And I take pictures of them and put pins on them and post it on the local Facebook group and say, "This is your drone. Here it is." Any other SaaS thing?
Oh, mate, no, nothing
No.
I can think of.
Everything's good. All right.
Well,
Center is
I don't know if it's good, but
I don't know.
Wow,
If it's good.
none of it's good. Quote Steve, none of it is good.
it's good.
Although, if I had the time over the Xmas period, I could go back through all of our videos and edit out things people have said, and I could completely misquote everybody, which would be hilarious.
You don't have time for that, though. That's why we trust you.
No.
Somebody does have time for it, though. You could make something really funny out of that.
Yeah.
Use your powers for good, not evil.
I would. Yes. Yeah.
So Steve would probably do it in his sleep, or well, not sleep. So
Do I sleep? I don't think I do.
And David's joined us live instead of in his remote vehicle. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good to see you. As we're approaching to say goodbye.
Yeah, nice to be able to put some faces now with the names and the voices.
Well, I hope that the real SaaS centers are listening, and will take the advice of all of these IT professionals, and maybe 2022, by the end of 2022, we'll get everything that we wished for within SaaS. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining. I wish you a very well and Merry Christmas.